Could every problem that you struggle with really just boil down to one thing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine. I'm a holistic nutritionist, energy healer, and hypnotherapist. And on my channel, we talk about health, wellness, spirituality, subconscious mind, and so much more. And today we are going to be talking all about the root cause of all problems and how to truly heal them. Let's dive right in. So before we dive in, I want to take an example of two people. Both of them get in a car accident. Both of them are paralyzed, severely injured, and two very different outcomes. So person A in the car accident, paralyzed. They see this as they are crippled, their body is broken, they will never be the same again, their life is not worth living, they will never get into a relationship because who could love them when their body doesn't work anymore? Who would hire them because they can't do anything? And how will they really ever have a fulfilling life if they can't do all of the things that they had planned to do because their body just doesn't work the way that it used to? They go about their daily life sad, depressed, looking back on the good old days before the accident, and they're on antidepressants, and they just don't even feel like their life is worth living. Person B gets in a car accident, paralyzed. They see this as God giving them a second opportunity, a second lease on life. They feel so grateful that they are able to come back into this body, and even though it doesn't work the same way that it used to, they were given a second chance on life. And so they wake up every single day with inspiration and motivation to live life to the very fullest because they don't take 1 second for granted. Because they see how quickly life can be completely pulled away from us, how precious every single day is, and they use every single day from that moment on to help uplift and inspire others, go on to do speaking and events and build a community of people that they inspire to truly make the most of every single day. Now, same story, same event, or rather same event, completely different story around it. Same outcome. Both are paralyzed. Both obviously cannot do the same things that they used to before, but both are telling a completely different story. And so when we look at struggling, when we want to really get to the root cause of why someone is struggling, whether that is with your health, whether that is with your relationships, whether that is with your prosperity, whatever it is, we always want to look at this one thing, and that is the story you are telling yourself. Now, bear with me because we are not always consciously telling these stories, and really the key to healing, the key to transforming our lives, whatever it is, your health, your wealth, your relationships, it's going to be identifying the story and telling a new one. And I've talked about this before, ages of 0 to 7, that is when we are creating these stories. That is when we are in that theta state, we are in hypnosis essentially, and we are having these experiences happen to us that then we go on our whole lives basically just recreating those stories from the interpretations that we made from such a young age. But here's the thing, every event that happens, it just is. It's neither good nor bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just these interpretations that we give to things. So this example I gave of these two people, well, who's to say that what happened is good or bad or right or wrong? It's completely it's completely subjective. And so this is why when there are court cases, we have to get several witnesses, because one thing happened, just one event, but everyone sees it differently. You have one person who says that the person was strangled to death, while another person says that no, they were just defending themselves, right? Well, who's right? It's all about the story. It's all about the way that we view it. And so when we're younger, we have these what seem to be just menial things happen to us. Like, let's say we get a bad grade on a test. And this happens to many people, many kids. And let's say either the teacher puts you in a different group because of it, or your friends make fun of you, or even your parents get mad at you in some way. You get grounded or reprimanded or whatever it is. Something bad happens because you get a bad grade. Well, you determine that because of this, you are not good enough, which, side note, that is really the key, and that's really the underlying story behind all suffering, is that we're not good enough. We're not worthy enough. We're not good enough. And so we go on our whole lives. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And again, we don't do this consciously, but what happens is, because of this event that happens as when we're a child, we then go on our whole lives thinking that we're not worthy, we're not good enough. And so then when a car accident happens, or someone breaks up with us, or we don't get a raise, or we don't get the job, or we don't get enough money, or we're not healing, or whatever it is, we then default to that story of, well, at whatever age, I wasn't good enough, so therefore I'm not good enough now. Well, again, this is just a story. This is just a story. And truly, the awareness of it can completely heal it. And so when I'm doing sessions on my clients, I can't tell you how often we go back and we see that it's these simple things. Like, we think that it has to be this big trauma of why we're struggling today, or why, anyone can go through this, can have a car accident, or can have these really awful events, but it's what we do with it, and it's a story that we tell around it that really dictates how we live our lives, and how we heal, and how we create the lives that we want, right? But how do we heal this? How do we heal these stories, especially if we aren't even aware of them, right? Well, it really begins with self-compassion, awareness, understanding, because here's the thing, we can start to get really caught up in then shaming ourselves, or why am I telling a bad story, or why am I doing this to myself? But really, the key to all of this is having compassion, understanding, and then telling a new story. In my sessions with clients for hypnotherapy, I take them back and we identify whatever scene it is. And I always ask, what does this inner child, what does this little girl, this little boy, what did this version of you at whatever age it is, what do they need for healing? What do they need to truly move on? And I cannot tell you how often people just say, well, they just needed space. They just need a hug. They just need to understand that it's going to be okay. Because at that age, or at that time, we're always doing the best we can with what we know. But if you don't know any better at that time, and when that event took place, then how are you going to write of course you're going to create the story that you did with what you knew at that time. But now, as an adult, you have the power to go back and rewrite that story. You have the ability to literally go back and change those neural pathways in your mind to create a new story. And really, this is how we reset our minds. This is how we create those new neural pathways. And this is how we heal every single problem. Because if you truly believe that you are an energetic match for the person of your dreams, or for prosperity, or for healing, you will receive that. But it takes rewriting those stories and creating a new script, creating new mental models, mental pictures. And I always like to give the analogy of like a ski slope. Like you've ridden down the ski slope so many times, and so going down a new one, it's gonna feel kind of uncomfortable. Like the snow's really fluffy and it's like a little bit hard to go down, right? Or maybe you snowboard, I don't know, I skied. But regardless, going down those new trails is going to be a little difficult at first. But as you begin to become aware of the story and then begin to tell a new one, you're going to see how all of a sudden you're knowing that you are worthy and deserving of health, wellness, abundance, relationships, whatever it is. Those things simply are drawn to you. And so again, remember, we don't do this on a conscious level. These aren't things like have compassion and understanding, because if you knew better, you would have done better. But now you know. This is literally, I feel like this is like the secret to life. Like this is the secret to creating everything that we want, is just becoming aware of these stories and then rewriting them, which you have the power to do. And so often it's even just becoming aware of the story. What is the story you're telling yourself, right? Just that awareness can completely shift it in and of itself. And so with that, my loves, it's time to write a new story. It's time to create a new story.